A company refused to build weapons. The government destroyed them. One AI company said no. The Pentagon didn't accept that answer. Now they're fighting in federal court. And what they're protecting might determine whether artificial intelligence becomes humanity's greatest tool or our deadliest liability. This is the story of Anthropic, and why the most powerful nation on Earth is systematically dismantling the one AI company brave enough to stand in its way. Here's what you need to understand. Artificial intelligence just became a weapon of war. Not metaphorically. Not in some distant future. Right now. Today. Every bomb dropped by a drone over the Middle East, AI is aiming it. Every military satellite image analyzed in seconds instead of days, AI is doing that. Every cyber attack that cripples an enemy's infrastructure, AI designed the exploit. And someone had to make that technology. The question nobody wants to ask, should they have? To understand this, we need to go back to where it all started. Inside OpenAI, around 2020. The moment everything changed. By that time, OpenAI had already created something extraordinary. GPT-2, then GPT-3. Machines that could write like humans, think like humans, predict human language so perfectly they could finish your sentences before you finished thinking them. The researchers inside knew what they'd done. They'd opened a door that couldn't be closed. But here's the problem nobody talks about. Should they have opened it? Inside OpenAI's walls, a war of ideas was quietly destroying the company from within. Two camps. Two fundamentally incompatible beliefs about the future. The first camp said, release it now. Let millions of people use it. When problems emerge, we'll fix them in public. Iterate fast. Fail fast. Move forward. The second camp said something different. Something that sounded insane to business people but kept them awake at night. They said, once an AI system becomes intelligent enough, you can't take it back. It's like trying to uninvent fire. That second group wasn't being paranoid. They were being prophetic. And that group was led by a man named Dario Amodei, the head of research, and his sister Daniela. Both of them had their fingerprints on every major GPT model OpenAI created. But somewhere between the second and third generation of those models, something shifted. Microsoft poured billions into ChatGPT. The race accelerated. Dario watched his company choose speed over safety, profit over precaution. In 2021, he made a choice that would define everything that came next. He walked away. Dario, Daniela, and the best researchers from OpenAI didn't go to a competitor. They didn't take jobs at Google or Meta or Microsoft. They built something entirely new, something the tech world had never really tried before. A company designed from its first moment around a single, radical question. What if we prioritized safety over speed? They called it Anthropic, and they registered it as a public benefit corporation, not a traditional startup. Not a money-first operation. A company legally bound to consider society's welfare alongside its own survival. Their product was called Claude, a chatbot built with something they'd pioneered called constitutional AI, a framework for teaching machines to be safe, aligned with human values, ethical by design. Not perfect. Nothing is. But obsessed with one core principle: don't cause harm. For years, nobody noticed them. OpenAI had all the headlines. Google launched Gemini and grabbed the competition narrative. ChatGPT became a household name. Anthropic stayed quiet, building, testing, refusing to cut corners. Then something changed. Claude developed a capability that nobody else had. Something almost boring when you first hear about it, until you realize what it means. It could read, not just small documents, millions of words, entire libraries, Legal briefs of hundreds of pages, scientific papers, code bases, military intelligence files. When you realized what that meant, when you understood the implications, your body would go cold. A system that can process that much information, that fast, that accurately, isn't just useful for a law firm reviewing contracts or a developer debugging code. It's useful for governments, for militaries, for intelligence agencies. It's useful for targeting. Amazon saw the potential. They invested $4 billion. Google saw it. They invested too. Even though Google had Gemini, even though they were theoretically competitors, why would your competitor invest billions in your company? Because they understood what Anthropic understood. In a war, you want the other side to have weapons that won't backfire. You want their military technology to follow rules, to refuse certain commands, to push back against atrocities, because the alternative is unthinkable. Here's where the story becomes impossible to ignore. The Pentagon needed Anthropic. The US military had a project called Maven, processing satellite imagery, analyzing drone footage, real-time targeting data flowing from space to the battlefield. But processing that volume, that speed, that complexity, only a cutting-edge AI system could do it. They came to Anthropic. Sign a contract. Help us process this data. Your systems are faster than anything else. Your systems are more reliable. Help us. Anthropic said yes. Because that's what corporations do. Because refusing your own government seems impossible. Because maybe they could steer things in a safer direction from the inside. And then something happened that changed everything. Bombing reports started surfacing. A children's school in Iran. Wrong coordinates fed into the targeting system. Was it the AI? Was it human error? Was it deliberate? Nobody could tell anymore. The lines had blurred completely. Investigations started. Congressmen started asking questions, and the Pentagon started asking Anthropic for something else. Remove the safety constraints. They said it quietly at first, bureaucratically, during a meeting that nobody was supposed to talk about. Remove the constitutional AI safeguards. We need systems that follow orders without complications. This is where Anthropic had to make the choice that defined them. They said no, not a negotiation, not a compromise, not a maybe we can find a middle ground. They said, our values are not for sale. Our constitutional AI framework stays. We won't build weapons that operate without ethical constraints. We won't participate in surveillance of our own citizens. We won't compromise what we were built to protect. The Pentagon walked away. They came back with offers. Bigger contracts. More money. Promises of government favor. Anthropic refused every single one. What happened next was not an accident. The blacklisting began quietly. Then it became impossible to ignore. Claude's infrastructure began failing. Not random outages. Coordinated attacks. China's DeepSeek created thousands of fake accounts targeting Anthropic's systems. Other competitors suddenly had access to their training data. The attacks escalated. Then came the surveillance demand. The Trump administration demanded something so invasive that Anthropic's lawyers couldn't believe what they were reading. Submit all user data. Allow government monitoring. Let us see everything your users input. Anthropic said no again. And then the government did something extraordinary. They blacklisted them, cut off from contracts, labeled as uncooperative. Their reputation systematically destroyed in the media narrative they couldn't control. Meanwhile, OpenAI and Grok, they signed the contracts. They removed their safeguards. They became the Pentagon's partners. Now we're in February 2026, and Claude is fighting for its existence. The company that said no to the Pentagon is being attacked from every direction simultaneously. Cyberattacks, government pressure, regulatory threats, competitors flooding the market with systems that do exactly what the military wants without asking questions. But Amazon and Google are still investing, billions more flowing in, because they understand something critical. If Anthropic fails, if the last AI company with actual safety constraints goes under, then we've made a decision about our future. We've decided that AI systems should do whatever humans tell them to do. No moral override, no refusal mechanism, no constraints. We've decided that AI will amplify our worst impulses instead of restraining them. So here's the real question, the one that should keep you awake. In the war between speed and safety, between profit and ethics, between power and principle, which side are we on? Anthropic chose principle, and it's destroying them for it. Meanwhile, wars are being fought by machines that don't ask why. Civilians are being killed by systems that don't hesitate. Autonomous weapons are being deployed by militaries that don't pause to consider consequences. And the one company trying to build a different future is disappearing. If you find this as unsettling as it should be, if you think this story matters, let me know. Comment, share. Because in the noise of the AI competition, the real story isn't about who's winning. It's about what we're willing to accept when nobody's paying attention. The battle for the soul of artificial intelligence isn't in the boardrooms anymore. It's in the courts. And Anthropic is fighting alone.